2 demo days in a row. This is great. I just got done helping out with a GitHub pull request for a fix that was limiting the functionality of this new system required fields plugin that I wrote. This thing is great. This fixes an issue that I had with the custom fields, where you're able to create a custom field, you're able to make it required, but then as an administrator, if you are editing someone's profile and they haven't filled out one of these required fields, you can't actually make your edits, because at that point you are required to fill in that custom field value because it's required. But you know, in my case, for a lot of the stuff that I want to use this for, the stuff that I want to use custom fields for, I don't know the information that's supposed to go into those fields. I need the users to fill that information out. It's not common information, and defaults won't cut it. I need to have the users fill it out, so it needs to remain empty so that I can do the other thing that this plugin requires. What it does is 2 things. For administrators in the back end, you are able to select any custom field that you want to become not required for you in the back end. So I've created, there's 4 custom fields here that I've created. Mobile number and favorite color are required fields. So you know, I can select these fields, and then when I'm editing any user in the back end here, I am capable of submitting the form without filling in those required fields. And just to prove that they're required, let's go to mobile number here, required. Favorite color, required. Receive text message is also required, but it's got a default, so that's optional, I guess, since it has a default. And company, did I make that required? Yeah, sure I did. So in the back end, anyone who is capable of logging into the back end, anyone who is a special user and administrator in the back end, pretty much anybody who's capable of logging into the back end is relieved of the completion requirement. So as a user in the front end, I was able to log in and fill in this detail in the back end. I'm not required to do it for the fields that have been have had their require attribute removed for the back end. Now, the pull request that I helped on, I'm going to show it to you here. This is thanks to user Denitz. I don't know, maybe it's Denitz. 18211 resolves an issue that prevents this next feature from working in the front end. So we're presently at Joomla 3.8.1. I'm hoping that pull request gets accepted into the core, and this fix arrives with Joomla 3.8.2. You know, fingers crossed. This feature is fixed on my system because I just tested the pull request, and the fix works to bring this feature back. So let me log out as admin. I'll log back in, and I will go and edit my profile, and you can see that the mobile number is empty, and I can empty out the favorite color and save my profile. And the system does not object. Okay, now if I log out and I log in, If I log in as myself, where's that? There. I'm not able to leave this form. I can't submit it with those values empty. You get the standard invalid field requirement turns red. Does all the cool stuff, all the regular stuff you'd expect it to do. But those fields are still required for me, being a regular Joe, not an admin. Okay, so log out. Oops, get back here. And as admin, I'm going to delete these fields, make them blank because I can. Now this is the other attribute, the other function of the required fields plugin. You choose the menu item that's assigned to your edit profile page. So if you don't have one, you're going to need to create one in order to use this feature. And you set your revisit. Now you know what? I'll get to that in just a minute. You set your edit menu item here, and then when a user logs into the front end, if they have fields that are required that are presently empty, it takes them immediately to their profile and requires them to fill in the fields that are blank. And at this point, if they try to submit, it tells them what's empty, and they're stuck on the profile page. They can't do anything except log out. These fields are required. That's a function of the field as they created it within the user field manager. But being forwarded to their profile upon login is a feature of the required fields plugin. Now, they can't do anything. They can't view the profile. It gives them that message. They can't go home. They can't do anything except edit the profile and save it with the required fields filled in or log out. So they're completely stuck. They are required to fill those fields in, and this also works for filling fields in that are newly created. So if you've got a whole bunch of users that are logging in and you decide to create a new required field on their profile, they don't have to fill that in unless they edit their profile, where those fields are now required and they can't submit without them. All they have to do is not edit their profile, and they can continue on without filling in those fields. Using my plugin, it will force them into their edit profile. They can't do anything on your site until they fill in those fields that are required. This other feature, the revisit interval. For the application that I'm writing this for myself, users are going to be coming back about once a year, and they're going to be required to review their details, you know, their phone numbers and mailing addresses and stuff. This is for a business that I do work for. They're required to review their details so that my customer is better able to support them. So this revisit interval is a profile value that's stored in the database, that each time they save their profile, this data is updated, and once they log in beyond this revisit interval, if their profile if the last time they saved their profile is older than this revisit interval, then it forces them into their profile edit page. All they have to do is hit save, and they're able to leave the profile at that point. But it functions just like the edit requirement. Until they save their profile and reset their revisit interval last save date, they're required to view their profile edit screen. So this plugin does, like I said, a couple things. On the front end, it removes the edit requirement, the field requirement for these unrequire fields for any ignore group in the front end. In the back end, it removes the field requirement for these groups for anyone who's capable of logging into the back end. In the front end, it forces incomplete profiles to the edit screen upon login, and it forces users who have passed their, I'm going to call this a freshness date. If they've passed their freshness date, it forces them into their edit profile. So this fulfills a need for my customer, and I hope it fulfills the needs of yours. Thank you. Bye-bye.